The experiment that created her. The lab was cold, filled with the hum of machines and the scent of chemicals. Dr. Adam Carter adjusted his glasses, staring at the giant glass chamber in front of him. Inside, something moved, something alive. She was not human, not fully. Her body was tall and strong, covered in smooth black armor-like skin. Sharp claws extended from her fingers, and her golden eyes glowed in the dim light. She was a creation, built from alien DNA mixed with human genes. The ultimate soldier. Faster, stronger, and smarter than anything before her. The scientists called her Project X9. Adam had worked on this project for years, but now, as he watched her breathing in the chamber, he felt uneasy. She wasn't just a weapon. She was aware. Is she ready for testing? A voice asked behind him. General Harris stood with his arms crossed, his uniform crisp. His cold eyes never left the creature in the chamber. She's stable, Adam replied, choosing his words carefully. But I don't know if we should activate her yet. The general scoffed. We didn't build her to wait, Doctor. We built her to fight. Before Adam could protest, the general pressed a button on the control panel. A hiss filled the room as the chamber unlocked. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her eyes snapped open. The room fell silent. She stepped forward slowly, testing her limbs. Every movement was smooth, graceful, like a predator walking through the jungle. X9, the general said, his voice firm. You will obey. She tilted her head, studying him. Then, a slow smile spread across her lips. The general's eyes narrowed. Did she just? Before he could finish his sentence, she moved. In a blur of motion, she slammed her fist against the glass. The chamber shattered like paper. Alarms blared as red lights flashed across the lab. Security, the general shouted. Guards rushed in with rifles, but she was already in front of them. Her claws ripped through armor like it was nothing. Screams filled the air as blood splattered across the walls. Adam stumbled backward, his heart pounding. She wasn't attacking randomly. She was hunting. One by one, the soldiers fell. The gunfire stopped. The room was silent again. And then she turned to Adam. He froze. Her golden eyes locked onto his, unblinking. For a moment, he expected her to tear him apart. But instead, she smiled again. It wasn't the smile of a killer. It was something else. Something strange. She took a step toward him, slow and deliberate. You can understand me, can't you? Adam whispered. She nodded. His breath caught in his throat. She was aware. Outside, the sound of boots echoed down the hallway. Reinforcements were coming. She reached out suddenly, her clawed hand brushing against his chest. Adam flinched, but she didn't hurt him. Instead, she tilted her head and whispered two words. You're mine. The alarm screamed louder. More soldiers were coming. But Adam wasn't sure who the real danger was anymore, her, or the people trying to control her. And then, without warning, she grabbed his arm. Before he could react, she lifted him like he weighed nothing and ran. As the lab disappeared behind them, Adam realized one terrifying truth. He wasn't her enemy. He was her choice. And now, she wasn't going to let him go. She chose me. The wind roared past Adam's ears as she carried him through the dark corridors of the facility. Her grip was firm but careful, as if she were afraid of hurting him. He wanted to struggle, to fight back, but his body refused to move. His mind was frozen with shock. She had killed without hesitation. She had torn through armored soldiers as if they were nothing. And yet, she hadn't harmed him. Why? The emergency alarm screamed overhead. The facility was in full lockdown, and soldiers were surely surrounding the exits, but she didn't seem afraid. She moved like a shadow, silent and swift, her golden eyes glowing in the dim light. Adam finally found his voice. Where are you taking me? She didn't answer. She just kept running, her powerful legs propelling her forward at inhuman speed. Adam's heart pounded. His mind raced through possibilities. Maybe she was keeping him as a hostage. Maybe she needed him to disable the security systems. Maybe she was just playing with him before she decided to kill him. He had seen her strength. He had seen the way she ripped through soldiers like paper. If she wanted him dead, he would already be a corpse on the floor. But she hadn't even hurt him. Instead, she had whispered those two chilling words, "You're mine." His stomach twisted. She finally stopped in a dark maintenance tunnel, far from the main lab. The sound of gunfire echoed in the distance, but it was fading now. The soldiers were searching the wrong areas. She turned to him, setting him down gently. Adam stumbled back, his hands shaking. He pressed against the cold metal wall, trying to keep as much distance as possible. She stood in front of him, watching him with those piercing golden eyes. Her body was built for war, tall, powerful, her black armor-like skin reflecting the dim light. But now, up close, Adam noticed something strange. She was breathing heavily, her chest rising and falling. Was she tired? That didn't make sense. She had shown no signs of weakness before. The scientists had designed her to be unstoppable, her energy limitless. But now she seemed different. Weaker? No, not weaker. Human. Adam swallowed hard. His voice came out hoarse. "What do you want from me?" Her eyes flickered with something unreadable. Slowly, she crouched down, bringing herself to his level. "I know you," she said, her voice smooth and deep. Adam stiffened. "What?" She tilted her head. "I remember you." That sent a chill down his spine. "That's impossible," he said quickly. "You were only activated today." Her lips curled into a small smile. "No, I was awake before." Adam's breath caught. That wasn't right. She had been inside the chamber for months, unmoving. The scientists had assumed she was unconscious, locked in a dormant state until activation. But now she was saying she had been aware the whole time, and she had been watching him. Adam clenched his fists. "You're lying." "I watched you," she continued, as if he hadn't spoken. "You spoke to me when the others didn't. You looked at me like I was real." He felt a cold sweat break out on his skin. It was true. While the other scientists had treated her like an object, Adam had always felt uneasy. He had watched over her in the chamber, sometimes speaking to her, even though he had never expected an answer. Had she been listening all along? His voice dropped to a whisper. "What are you?" She leaned in, her golden eyes locked onto his. "I am yours." Adam's breath hitched. This wasn't just a soldier. This wasn't just a weapon. She had chosen him. And that made her more dangerous than anything the military had ever imagined. Suddenly, the echo of heavy boots filled the tunnel. The soldiers had found them. Adam turned toward the noise, his heart hammering. He knew what would happen next. The soldiers would storm in, guns blazing. They would shoot to kill. She would fight. She would kill them all. Or worse, they would take her back. He didn't know why, but the thought of that terrified him more than anything else. She was watching him closely, waiting, not running, not attacking, waiting for him to decide. Adam swallowed hard. "If we stay here, we die." She nodded, unfazed. "We need to escape." A slow smile spread across her lips. "I was waiting for you to say that." And then, before Adam could react, she grabbed his hand. For the second time that night, she ran. And this time, Adam didn't resist, hunted by humanity. The desert stretched endlessly under the pale moonlight, the cold wind whipping against Adam's face as they ran. His lungs burned, his legs ached, but she never slowed. She moved like a ghost, silent, swift, unstoppable. Her grip on his wrist was firm but not painful, her claws careful against his skin. Adam wasn't sure how long they had been running. Minutes? Hours? Time felt strange. The military facility was far behind them now. hidden beneath layers of sand and concrete, but he knew it wouldn't take long for the soldiers to track them. They were being hunted, and he was running alongside the most dangerous creature on the planet. She finally stopped on a rocky plateau, high above the wasteland. The air was cold, dry. Adam doubled over, his breath ragged. He had never run so far, so fast. His body was screaming for rest. But she wasn't even tired. She stood at the edge of the cliff, her golden eyes scanning the horizon. The wind ruffled her sleek, black armor-like skin, making her look more like a goddess than a soldier. Adam wiped sweat from his brow, forcing himself to speak. "They're coming for us." She nodded, her expression calm. "I know." Adam looked around. There was nowhere to hide. No cover, no shelter, just open desert and jagged rocks. "They'll send drones," he continued, his voice strained. "Then armored units. If they don't capture you, they'll destroy you." Something dark flickered in her eyes. "Let them try." Adam's stomach twisted. He had seen what she could do. The soldiers at the facility hadn't stood a chance. But this time, it would be different. The military wasn't stupid. They wouldn't underestimate her again. She had been designed to be the perfect weapon, but they had built her too well. Now she was a threat to them all. Adam stepped forward cautiously. "We can't just fight them. There are too many." She finally turned to face him, her expression unreadable. "You are afraid." He clenched his fists. "Of course I am. You killed a dozen men back there like it was nothing. And now the entire military is after us." She studied him for a long moment. Then, to his surprise, she stepped closer. Adam tensed. She had always been intimidating, but now, there was something different in the way she looked at him. Something almost gentle. "You do not need to fear me," she said, her voice softer than before. Adam let out a breath. "Then tell me why. Why did you save me?" She was silent. The wind howled between them, filling the empty space where words should have been. Finally, she spoke. "Because you are mine." Adam flinched. He had heard her say that before, but this time, it felt different. Less like a claim. More like a truth. He swallowed hard. "I don't belong to anyone." Her golden eyes narrowed slightly. Then, to his shock, she took his hand. Her fingers were cold, her claws sharp, but her grip was gentle. "I was made to obey," she said slowly. "To kill on command. To follow orders without question." She tightened her grip slightly, her voice turning fierce. "But I do not obey them. I do not serve them." Her gaze locked onto his. "I serve you." Adam felt a chill crawl down his spine. This wasn't normal. This wasn't right. She was supposed to be a mindless weapon, a tool of war. But instead, she was something else. Something that shouldn't exist. Before he could respond, a distant whir cut through the silence. Adam froze. Drones. He turned quickly, scanning the sky. Tiny red lights blinked in the distance, growing closer with every second. They were scanning the terrain, searching for them. He grabbed her arm. "We need to move. Now." She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she looked at the approaching drones with mild amusement. "They are weak," she said. Adam gritted his teeth. "Maybe. But the missiles they carry aren't." That got her attention. Her gaze sharpened, and without another word, she grabbed his waist and leaped. Adam barely had time to scream. The world blurred around him as they fell from the rocky plateau. Wind rushed past his face, and his stomach twisted with fear. Then, just before they hit the ground, she landed gracefully, absorbing the impact with ease. Adam, on the other hand, nearly threw up. She set him down carefully. "We keep moving." He didn't argue. They sprinted through the desert, the drones now fully locked onto them. Bright red beams scanned the ground, searching for their heat signatures. The buzzing grew louder. Then the first missile launched. Adam barely had time to react before she tackled him, rolling them both into a deep ravine just as the explosion lit up the night sky. Sand and fire erupted above them. Rocks shattered. The air filled with smoke and debris. Adam coughed violently, struggling to breathe. "This is insane. We won't survive this." She didn't look concerned. In fact, she was smiling. "I will protect you." Adam stared at her. The ground shook as more missiles struck the cliffs above. The military wasn't playing games anymore. They wanted her gone. And if he was with her, that meant they wanted him gone too. His heart pounded. He had a choice to make. Run and leave her behind, or stay with the most dangerous creature on Earth. She looked at him, waiting. And against all logic, against every instinct screaming at him to run, Adam made his decision. He grabbed her hand. "Then let's survive." Her golden eyes gleamed. And together, they disappeared into the night. Her obsession grows. The desert stretched endlessly in all directions, a sea of sand and rock under the pale glow of the twin moons. They had been running for what felt like hours, the heat of the day replaced by the bitter cold of night. The military drones had lost them for now, but Adam knew they wouldn't stop hunting. They never would. Yet that wasn't what scared him the most. It was her. She hadn't let go of his hand since they escaped the last ambush. Her grip wasn't painful, but it was firm, unrelenting, like she was afraid he would vanish if she loosened it even slightly. Adam had never felt so trapped. She wasn't just protecting him anymore. She was possessive. Every time he tried to pull away, she would tilt her head, staring at him with those golden, glowing eyes. The way she looked at him wasn't like a predator watching prey. It was something deeper, something worse. It was devotion. And that terrified him more than any weapon the military could throw at them. They finally stopped near an abandoned structure, an old military outpost, half buried in sand. The walls were cracked, the entrance barely standing. It was the perfect place to hide, at least for now. Adam collapsed against the cold metal, his body aching. He was exhausted, his muscles burning from the constant running. He needed food, water, rest, anything. But she just stood there, watching him. She didn't sweat. She didn't breathe heavily. She wasn't tired. Adam swallowed hard. "You're not human." She blinked slowly. "No." He ran a hand through his damp hair, trying to stay calm. "Then why do you act like one?" She tilted her head, her claws tapping lightly against the metal wall. "Because you are human." "That doesn't make sense." She crouched beside him, her glowing eyes staring directly into his. "It does to me." Adam's stomach twisted. There was something wrong about the way she looked at him. Something too focused, like he was the only thing that existed in her world. She had killed for him. She had fought an army for him. And now, she wasn't even hiding her obsession. He forced himself to stay calm. "What do you want from me?" Her lips curled into the smallest smile. "Everything." Adam felt his breath catch. She lifted a hand slowly, tracing her claws near his throat. Not touching, just close enough that he could feel the heat from her fingers. "You are mine," she whispered. His pulse pounded. He had no weapon, no way to escape. If she decided to kill him, he wouldn't be able to stop her. But she didn't attack. Instead, she did something even more terrifying. She leaned in and nuzzled against him, her face brushing against his neck. Adam's entire body locked up. What are you?" She inhaled deeply, her voice almost pleased. "Your scent, it's comforting." Adam pushed back against the wall, his breathing shaky. This wasn't just about survival anymore. She wasn't keeping him alive because she needed him. She wanted him. And that made her more dangerous than anything the military could ever create. The night passed in uneasy silence. Adam pretended to sleep, but he never truly rested. She didn't sleep at all. She sat beside him the entire time, watching, guarding. Every time he shifted, she followed his movement with unnatural precision. By morning, Adam was ready to break. He stood up quickly. "I need space." She immediately followed. "I will go with you." "No." His voice was sharp. "I mean alone." She hesitated. "Why?" "Because I need a moment to myself." She frowned, something like confusion flashing in her golden eyes. "But you belong with me." Adam's stomach twisted. He forced himself to stand tall, to look her directly in the eyes. "I'm not yours." For the first time since they escaped, her expression changed. Something inside her eyes shattered. The air around them felt heavy, like the moment before a storm. She didn't move. She didn't speak. But the look on her face was enough to make Adam's skin crawl. "You don't mean that," she said softly. Adam clenched his fists. He needed to be careful. If he pushed too hard, she might snap. "I'm my own person," he said carefully. "I don't belong to anyone." She stared at him for what felt like an eternity. Then, finally, she took a slow step back. "Very well," she murmured. Relief flooded Adam's chest. "Thank you." She suddenly vanished. One moment she was standing in front of him. The next, she was gone, moving so fast he barely saw the blur. Adam's heart pounded. He had no idea where she went. But something told him this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Hours passed. The sun climbed high, making the desert shimmer with heat. Adam spent the time searching the abandoned outpost, looking for supplies, anything that could help him survive. But his mind kept going back to her. Where had she gone? Was she angry? Would she come back? He should have been relieved that she left. Instead, he felt something far worse. He felt hunted. A noise. Adam turned sharply, his heart slamming against his ribs. Nothing. The silence stretched. The wind howled. Then, suddenly, a hand shot from the shadows and grabbed his wrist. Adam gasped, his body frozen in terror. She was back. And this time, she wasn't letting go. Her golden eyes burned with something fierce. "You ran," she said, her voice calm but deadly. "I don't like that." Adam tried to pull away, but her grip tightened. "I thought you understood," she continued, stepping closer. "I don't leave what's mine." His pulse pounded. "I'm not yours." She smiled. A slow, terrifying, knowing smile. Her claws traced his pulse, feeling the frantic beat beneath his skin. "You will be." Adam's blood ran cold. This wasn't just an obsession anymore. This was possession, and he had no idea how to escape. The truth about her creation. Adam had always been a man of science, a man who trusted in logic and evidence, but everything he had learned over the years, every theory, every rule of biology and engineering, was now meaningless. The woman, if she could even be called that, beside him defied everything he knew. She wasn't just a weapon, a creation to be controlled. She was something more. And as he sat in the shadow of the broken outpost, her golden eyes studying him with an intensity that made his skin crawl, Adam realized that what he thought he knew about her was only the beginning. He had thought she was simply an experiment gone wrong, a hybrid made from alien DNA, engineered for one purpose: destruction. But her mind, her emotions, they weren't like a machine. They were alive. And she was obsessed with him. "Why?" he whispered, the question hanging in the air like a thick fog. Her head tilted as she crouched beside him, her glowing eyes locked on his every move. "You want to know what I am?" she asked, her voice soft but filled with a strange weight. He swallowed hard, trying to find the words. "Yes. Why are you like this?" "Why me?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she reached out and lightly touched his cheek, her fingers cool, almost tender. Her claws, which had torn through soldiers like paper, seemed to hold back now, as if afraid to hurt him. "I wasn't always this way," she murmured, almost as if to herself. Adam's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" Her gaze flickered to the sky, distant and far away. "I was made to be perfect," she said, her voice steady, but edged with something Adam couldn't quite place. "The perfect soldier. Stronger, faster, smarter. Built to fight, built to kill." But that was not the worst of it. Adam's breath caught in his chest. He had read the reports. He knew she had been engineered from alien DNA, designed to be a weapon. But something in her tone made him feel like there was more to the story, something darker than he could have imagined. "What do you mean, not the worst?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. She turned back to him, her gaze narrowing. "I was made to love," she said, her words like a slap to his chest. Adam blinked. "What? You think I was created for war? For destruction?" She leaned in, her face close to his, her voice dropping lower, almost a whisper. But that was the last thing they wanted. The silence stretched between them. Adam was frozen, his mind reeling. She had been created to love. Was that possible? He had seen her kill with his own eyes, felt her bloodlust as she tore through the soldiers at the facility. How could a being like that be designed for anything but violence? "I was meant to bond," she continued, her voice soft but filled with an eerie conviction. "To find my mate, my other half." Adam's heart thudded in his chest. This was madness. She was a machine built to destroy. She couldn't have been made for love. But the way she looked at him, the way she clung to him, it was as if her very existence depended on him. He took a step back, his mind scrambling to make sense of her words. You were supposed to bond with someone. Like a human." She smiled faintly. "Not human. Someone like you, though. Someone. Alive. Someone who could choose me." Adam shook his head. He had to be dreaming. There was no way she was telling the truth. Her kind wasn't supposed to feel anything. She was a weapon, a thing to be controlled. The military had bred her to be ruthless. But as he looked into her golden eyes, he saw something else, something that wasn't mechanical. Fear. "I was made for you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You are the one I was meant for. You are the one." Adam felt a cold chill crawl up his spine. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This wasn't just about escaping the military or hiding from the drones. This was about him. And her. The night passed slowly, with only the sounds of the wind and distant rumbling of military forces as the backdrop. Adam couldn't sleep. He couldn't even close his eyes. Every time he did, her words echoed in his mind, sending waves of dread through him. She was created for him. She was made to love him. But that didn't make sense. She was a killer, a beast, a weapon. Yet every time she looked at him, he felt like a prisoner in a cage of her making. He had to get away. He had to escape. But when he looked at her, sitting quietly in the corner, her eyes locked on him with a gaze that was almost affectionate, he realized he couldn't. She wouldn't let him. Morning came, but the sun did little to ease Adam's growing sense of fear. She hadn't moved from her spot all night. She hadn't attacked him, hadn't even tried to force him to do anything. Instead, she sat there, watching him, waiting for something. But what? She had told him the truth about her creation. She had been made to love him, to bond with him. But that bond wasn't something he could control. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting harsh light over the desert, Adam realized something else. He wasn't the one in control here. She was, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to run anymore. He wasn't sure if he could. When he finally looked up from the ground, her gaze was already on him. She wasn't smiling, but there was something gentle in her eyes. "Why?" he asked quietly, finally breaking the silence. "Why me? Why not someone else?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she walked toward him slowly, her golden eyes never leaving his face. "Because I was designed for you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And because you chose me." Adam shook his head, confused. I never chose you." Her gaze softened, and she stepped even closer, until their faces were just inches apart. "You will." And that, more than anything, terrified him. Escape or surrender? The sun beat down relentlessly, its harsh light reflecting off the barren desert landscape like a furnace. Adam's mind raced as he stood at the edge of the ruined military outpost, his back pressed against the cracked concrete. The cold wind that had once been a blessing now seemed like a cruel reminder that the world outside wasn't kind. The world was closing in on him, and it wasn't just the soldiers. It wasn't just the drones. It was her. She stood beside him, her tall, imposing figure bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. Her armor-like skin shimmered, a reflection of both beauty and terror. She was still, unnervingly still, as if waiting for him to make a decision. Her eyes locked on him with a calm that felt too dangerous to be real. Every step he took, every breath he drew, every decision he tried to make, she was there, like a shadow that refused to let him go. "Do you ever stop watching me?" Adam muttered, frustration seeping into his voice. He clenched his fists, but it did nothing to calm the chaos inside him. "Do you ever stop following me?" She turned to him, her eyes never leaving his face, her lips curling into a smile that was both comforting and unnerving. "I'm not following you," she said softly. "I'm waiting for you to realize that there's no way out. You can run as far as you want, but you will never outrun me." Adam swallowed hard. The words stung more than he expected. He had always felt like the one in control of his fate, even in the face of danger. But now he felt like he was trapped in a cage of his own making. The walls were closing in, and it wasn't just the military he had to worry about. She had made sure of that. "We can't keep running," he said, shaking his head. "The military's coming. They won't stop until we're both dead or captured." He paused, searching her face for any sign of humanity, for any weakness he could exploit, but there was nothing there. Her expression was calm, almost serene. "You'll kill them, but we'll never get away. They'll send more. They'll find us." Her golden eyes flickered with something like amusement, but there was no doubt in Adam's mind. She was dangerous, more dangerous than any force he had ever encountered. Not just because of her strength or her alien genetics, but because of what she was becoming, the obsession that was consuming her. "You still don't understand, do you?" she said, her voice low, her tone dripping with something that sounded almost like pity. "This is not just about survival, Adam. You and I." She stepped closer, her breath warm against his skin. "We are fated." Adam recoiled, his chest tightening. "Fated?" He spat, struggling to keep his voice steady. "I don't believe in fate. I don't believe in any of this." He gestured wildly at her, his frustration boiling over. "You're not human. You were made for war, not for love. Not for this, whatever this is." Her eyes darkened. "I was made for you." Adam clenched his jaw, his hand shaking. His mind spun in 1,000 directions, each one filled with a new horror. She had killed countless soldiers. She had destroyed everything in her path, and now she was obsessed with him. She didn't just want him. She needed him. And the longer this went on, the more dangerous it became. But could he really escape? Could he even survive if he tried? The military would surely send everything they had to take them down, and he knew she would never let him go. She wouldn't let him leave her. For the first time in his life, Adam didn't know what to do. He turned, his eyes searching the desert for any sign of movement. The horizon was clear, but he could feel the weight of the approaching storm. An army, an unstoppable force closing in on them. The drones would find them. The soldiers would come. And if he tried to run, he would only make it worse. Her voice broke through his thoughts. "You're thinking about leaving, aren't you?" He didn't answer, but his silence said everything. She stepped forward, her expression softening ever so slightly, as though she was reading his mind. You can't leave me, Adam. You belong to me. I am everything you need, everything you'll ever need. Adam closed his eyes, the suffocating weight of her words pressing down on him. She was right. In a way, he couldn't leave her, but not because he wanted to be with her. It was because he was trapped, a prisoner of something he had never asked for. You want me to stay, he said quietly, his voice rough, but you're not giving me a choice. Her eyes flashed, the golden light in them burning with intensity. I don't need to give you a choice, Adam. She reached out, her hand gripping his wrist, pulling him toward her. You're already mine. He pulled back, his heart racing. He could feel the heat of her touch, the power in her hands, and yet, despite everything, he still felt a strange pull toward her. Was it fear, or something else? Something he couldn't understand. Then what? He asked, his voice shaky but defiant. What do you want from me? She smiled, a slow, dangerous smile. I want you to stop running. I want you to surrender to me. Adam's breath hitched. Surrender. You've already surrendered, she said, her voice barely a whisper, but her words cut through him like a blade. You've chosen me. And now you will stay with me. Forever. For a moment, Adam felt a wave of terror. He had always been a man who relied on his mind, on his ability to make decisions. But now it felt like those choices didn't matter. Like the world had turned upside down, and everything was spinning out of control. He could feel the military closing in, the storm on the horizon, and in that moment, Adam knew something horrible. There were no good choices left. Escape was impossible. And surrender. That was the only choice left. The sound of engines, the unmistakable roar of military vehicles, cut through the silence like thunder. Adam's heart sank. It was time. The question wasn't whether he could escape. It was whether he could survive the choice she had already made for him. Humanity's last monster. The sky above had turned an ominous shade of crimson, the fading light of dusk painting the desert in blood-red hues. The wind had died down, and for a brief moment, everything felt still. Unnaturally still. Adam stood at the edge of the ruined military outpost, the harsh desert landscape stretching endlessly before him. And the sound of distant engines hummed steadily, growing louder. He could feel the pressure of the military's hunt closing in. The drones had located their position. The soldiers were closing in fast. But he knew, in the deepest pit of his stomach, that even if the army arrived, even if the drones launched their missiles, there was only one certainty. It wouldn't matter. She would never let him go. The air felt thick, suffocating, as he looked back at her, his captor, his protector, his obsession. She was standing a few feet away, still as a statue, her golden eyes never leaving him. She was calm, her body unhurried, as if the coming storm didn't even touch her. But Adam could sense the storm inside her, an unshakable power, an unyielding will that pulsed like a heartbeat, more alive than anything human. She had been built to destroy, and in some ways, she had destroyed everything Adam had ever believed in. His understanding of what it meant to be human, his trust in logic, in control, in choice, all of that was gone. I can't do this anymore, Adam said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. She looked at him with that piercing gaze, as though she were searching deep within him, peeling away his thoughts one by one. What are you afraid of, Adam? She asked, her voice low, seductive, a strange tenderness lingering beneath her words. You've always known you couldn't escape me. You've always known that I would keep you. You belong to me. He shook his head. No, I don't, he muttered, though even as the words left his lips, a part of him felt like he was lying. The military wasn't the only thing hunting them now. The real predator was standing right in front of him. She had been designed to bond with him. And Adam had never fully understood the depth of what that meant. She wasn't just a soldier. She wasn't just a weapon. She was something more. And as the truth settled over him like a shroud, Adam realized that the battle for his freedom wasn't about guns or drones. It was about his will, his very soul. And she, the thing he had thought of as an alien weapon, a mindless killer, had claimed him, body and mind. "I wasn't made for you," Adam said, the words bitter as they passed his lips. "I wasn't made for anyone." Her expression softened for just a moment, and a strange sadness flickered in her eyes. But it was quickly replaced by the cold, unshakable determination that had marked her since the beginning. "You were made for me," she said, her voice almost gentle now, though the words carried an unmistakable finality. "And no one else will have you. Not the military, not the world, only me." The wind kicked up again, this time carrying a distant echo of the sound of approaching vehicles. The storm was almost upon them. Adam could hear the rumble of engines drawing nearer, the military's hunt intensifying, but they didn't matter. She would never let him go. And deep down, a part of him understood. She had been engineered to be the perfect hunter, the perfect soldier, the perfect companion. And now, she was his only reality. The thought clung to him like a second skin. There was no way out. The choice was made for him before he even realized it. "You don't get it, do you?" he said, his voice growing more urgent, desperate. "You were built to kill, to obey. You're not human. You can't." She stepped forward suddenly, closing the distance between them in a heartbeat, her claws dangerously close to his chest. Her eyes, those golden eyes, burned with a fury he had never seen before. "I choose you, Adam," she said through gritted teeth. "You will be mine, whether you accept it or not. There is no running. There is no escaping." Adam flinched, her words sinking deep into him like a poisoned blade. He wanted to resist, to run, to scream at the top of his lungs that he wasn't hers, that he was his own man, that he would not be shackled by the creation of a monster. But as she stood before him, that powerful, relentless gaze never faltering, Adam realized that this wasn't a fight he could win. The only question that remained was whether he would surrender completely, or whether he would become a tool of destruction, a pawn in her war. "I'm not your slave," Adam whispered, but his voice trembled with doubt. For the briefest moment, he thought he saw something flicker in her eyes, a brief flash of vulnerability, of regret. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by the same intensity that had defined her since their first meeting. "You will be mine," she repeated, her voice steady now, like a promise. Before Adam could react, a loud boom reverberated in the distance, the unmistakable sound of an explosion. The military had arrived. They were closer than Adam had realized. In that moment, the choice was made for him once more. He could run. He could try to escape, to slip into the shadows and hope for a miracle. But he knew it would be futile. The military would find him. They would destroy everything. And even if they didn't, she would track him down. She would never let him go. But there was another way. He could surrender. He could accept his fate. And in doing so, he would find the only kind of peace that was left, a peace born not of freedom, but of acceptance. The military had arrived, but Adam realized they were no longer his enemy. She was, and he had already lost. He turned toward her, looking into her eyes for what felt like the last time, and for the first time, he didn't feel fear. He didn't feel terror. He felt something else. Acceptance. "Do what you have to," Adam said quietly, his voice steady. "I'm yours." Her eyes softened for the first time since their encounter. But there was no warmth in her gaze, no joy, only the cold, unyielding certainty of her victory. "Finally," she whispered. "Finally, you understand." As the military's forces closed in on them, Adam felt the full weight of the choices he had made, and the monster he had become a part of.